Hello my dear children, welcome back to the lecture series of Maharashtra Board Chemistry, grade 12. Today we are going to start a new chapter, that is alcohols, phenols and ethers. My name is 𝐒𝐵𝗵𝗀 and you are watching 𝐒𝐵𝗵𝗀 classes. Let's get started. So this is the 11th chapter, that is alcohols, phenols and ethers. It's a chapter which belongs to organic chemistry. In this chapter there are 3 different compounds, but we are going to do all the 3 different compounds separately. So first I'll do alcohols, then I'll do phenols and then ethers. So what are alcohols? Alcohols are the organic compounds. So here I have written the definition, you can see. These are the organic compounds which contain at least one hydroxyl group. So there should be at least one hydroxyl group, that is OH group, in their molecular formula. So their general formula is ROH. This is a general formula where you know that R is the alkyl group. In ROH, R designates the alkyl group. So it could be methyl, ethyl, propyl and so on. And OH is the hydroxyl group. So this is a molecular formula for alcohol. So example is CH3OH. So if there is only one carbon atom, then it is called as methyl alcohol. We are talking about the common name. Definitely we are going to do the IUPAC names separately. C2H5OH, so it's an alcohol of 2 carbon atom, which is called as ethyl alcohol and so on. So this is the introduction for alcohol. Okay, now come to the classification of alcohols. So the first classification we do based on the number of OH groups attached to the molecule. Based on that, we can classify them as monohydric alcohol. We know that mono means one, so there will be only one OH group in the molecule. So these alcohols contain only one OH group. For example, CH3OH, methyl alcohol, there is only one OH group here. C2H5OH, there is only one OH group here. So these are called as monohydric alcohols. Next, we go to the, this is dihydric alcohol. Yes, so this is dihydric alcohols. These alcohols contain 2 OH group. Di means 2, so 2 OH groups. So we can say CH2OH and CH2OH. There are 2 OH groups. This compound is called as ethylene glycol. We are just writing the common name here. So this is called as ethylene glycol. Next is trihydric alcohol. So in the molecule there will be 3 hydroxyl groups. For example, CH2OH, CHOH and CH2OH. 1, 2 and 3 alcohol, 3 hydroxy group, and this is called as propylene glycol. Okay, after trihydric alcohol we call polyhydric. Poly means after 3 hydroxyl group. If there are more than 3, then we say poly. Poly means many. So it is polyhydroxy alcohol and polyhydric alcohol, we can say. These alcohols contain more than 3 OH groups. So we can have the example of CH2OH, CHOH, CHOH, CHOH and CH2OH. So there are how many? 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 alcoholic hydroxyl group, and we call it as pentane. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pentanol. So that is pentol. There are 5 hydroxyl group. For 5 we write penta. Okay, so this is pentane. The carbon chain is pentane, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pentanol. So that is the name of this compound. So this was on the basis of how many hydroxyl group is attached to the molecule. So now we are going to see the classification of monohydric alcohols. Okay, so monohydric means there is only one hydroxyl group in the compound, and classification of that. The first is alcohols containing CsP3OH bond. What does it mean? The carbon is a sp3 hybridized carbon atom. sp3 hybridized carbon atom means it is associated with all single bonds. Okay, and one of the bond is occupied by hydroxyl group. So this is your CsP3OH bond. Now, if this carbon, which is a sp3 hybridized carbon, which is directly attached to the hydroxyl group, if it is attached to only one carbon atom, then it is called as primary alcohol. Okay, see here, this is your OH and this is the sp3 carbon atom which is attached to only one R group. Okay, so this is a primary alcohol. And now if this carbon is attached to 2 more carbon, then it is called as a secondary alcohol. I will show you this. Suppose this is the sp3 hybridized carbon atom and this is sp3 hybridized carbon atom, and this is attached to 2 more alkyl group or 2 more carbon atom. Then it is called as secondary, it is known as secondary alcohol, or since this carbon is a 2-degree carbon, this is also called as 2-degree alcohol. So this is the second classification of monohydric alcohols of CsP3OH bond. Another classification is this carbon atom which is directly attached to the functional group alcohol, which is sp3 carbon atom, if this is attached to 3 more carbon atom like this. Okay, so then this carbon is a 3-degree carbon, and this alcohol is called as tertiary alcohol or 3-degree alcohol. Okay, so this way we can classify the monohydric alcohols into primary, secondary and tertiary depending on the carbon which is directly attached to the OH group is attached to how many carbon on the other side. Okay, so this is the classification of your monohydric alcohols. So now we are seeing the next classification, that is allylic alcohols. First we'll see what is allylic alcohols. Allylic alcohols are those where the hydroxyl group is bonded to sp3 hybridized carbon atom which is next to a carbon-carbon double bond. Means what? You have a hydroxyl group OH which is attached to a sp3 hybridized carbon atom which is bonded to a carbon-carbon double bond next to a carbon-carbon double bond. This is called as allylic. Now this is sp3, and if this is attached to only one carbon, then it is called as 1 degree. So this type of alcohols where these are H hydrogen, these are called as 1 degree or primary allylic alcohol. For example, this one, this is a primary allylic alcohol. Whereas this carbon, which is sp3 carbon attached to a carbon-carbon double bond, means this is allylic, but it is attached to 2 more carbon atoms, so this is 2 degree. So we call it as 2 degree alcohol. Okay, the name of this compound you can see 1, 2, 3 and 4. This is the longest chain, so we call it as bute. In bute there is a double bond in between 3 and 4 carbon atoms, so bute 3 in and 2 all. So this is the name of this compound. Come here, again this carbon is a sp3 carbon atom which is next to a carbon-carbon double bond, so which is allylic, but this carbon is attached to 3 more carbon atoms, so it is called as tertiary allylic alcohol. What is the name of this compound? If you see, this is 1, 2, 3 and 4. So it is in 2 we have a 2-methyl group, so we call it 2-methyl bute 3 in and 2 all. So this is the name of this compound and it's a tertiary allylic alcohol. So you need to remember the frame or the structure of allylic. The structure of allylic is the OH group or the functional group is attached to a sp3 carbon atom which in turn is attached to a sp2 carbon atom. This is the structure of allylic. Now this carbon atom, depending on this carbon, what is it? Primary, secondary or tertiary? According to that, this allylic alcohol can be again classified as primary allylic, secondary allylic and tertiary allylic alcohol. Now we come to the next type of classification, that is benzylic alcohol. What is benzylic? Benzylic means again the functional group is attached to a sp3 carbon atom and this sp3 carbon atom is attached to a benzene ring. This is called as benzylic. See the structure of benzylic. This is a functional group. The functional group is attached to a sp3 carbon atom and this sp3 carbon atom is next to an aromatic ring, a benzene ring. Then this is called as benzylic alcohol. Again this benzylic alcohol can be 1 degree if this is attached to only 1 carbon atom. If this is attached to 2 carbon atom, then it is 2 degree benzylic, and if this carbon atom is attached to 3 carbon atom, then it is 3 degree benzylic. I hope everybody understood now. This is we'll see the example of this now. See, this is the sp3 carbon atom, sp3, which is attached to a benzene ring. So this is benzylic alcohol. And this carbon is attached to only 1 carbon atom over here. So this is benzylic alcohol in 1 degree. Come here. This is your sp3 carbon atom again, which is attached to a benzene ring. So it is benzylic. But this carbon is attached to two more carbon. Here one side, one carbon, and here one carbon, two more carbons. So it is a 2 degree benzylic alcohol. The name of this compound will be, you can see, this is first carbon and this is second carbon. The side chain will be the parent molecule because the side chain contains the functional group. So this is your first carbon and this is your second carbon. In the first carbon we have benzene ring, which will be acting as a substituent here. So this is called as phenyl. When benzene becomes a substituent, we call it as phenyl. So this is 1-phenyl ethanol. So it is 1-phenyl ethanol, which is a 2 degree benzylic alcohol. Come here, this carbon is an sp3 carbon atom which is attached to a benzene ring. So it is a benzylic alcohol again, and this carbon is attached to 1, 2 and 3 carbon. So it is a tertiary benzylic alcohol. The name of this compound again, this is your first carbon, this is your second carbon, and this is your third carbon. This is the longest chain. And the second carbon, one phenyl is attached, one OH is attached. So we call it as 2-phenyl propane 2-ol. So this is the IUPAC of this compound, 2-phenyl propane 2-ol. Now the next thing is, next classification is alcohols containing CsP2OH bond. Now your carbon is a sp2 carbon. sp2 carbon means it is attached to OH, and this side it is attached to a double bond. So this carbon is an sp2 carbon. This is an sp2 carbon atom. Okay. Now suppose this kind of a structure is there. So this is your sp2OH. We have very less number of examples over here. This is your sp2OH, which is called as vinyl alcohol. So this way we can do the classification of alcohols. Now we'll come to the next topic, that is nomenclature of alcohol. So now see, this is the first alcohol nomenclature. In nomenclature we need to do some of the common name and IUPAC name also. So first one, alcohol with one carbon atom. So this is commonly called as methyl alcohol. Okay, I'll write it. This is called as methyl alcohol. So this is the common name. The IUPAC name will be methane. It is meth because only one carbon atom. Ane because it is all single bond. So methane 1-ol. Okay. Now we know that A, E, I, O, U cannot be adjacent to each other. If they are, then the first vowel gets cancelled. Also, one can be silent. So finally what we can write is, if we remove this E and 1, then we call it as methanol. So this is the name, IUPAC name of the first alcohol. Okay, come to the next one. This is first carbon and this is second carbon. There are two carbon atoms. Commonly we call it as ethyl alcohol. Ethyl alcohol. The IUPAC name is eth, and then carbon-carbon single bond it is, so ethane. Okay, and again 1-ol. Ethane 1-ol. One can be silent, so I can just remove this and I can write it down, ethanol. Ethanol. Okay. Now come here. This is your first carbon, second carbon and third carbon. Now this is called as propyl. There are 3 carbon atoms. So it is called as propyl alcohol. And now the IUPAC will be, it is called as N-propyl, because from 3 carbon atom we can also start branching it. So when it is a straight chain we call it as N-propyl alcohol. And the IUPAC name will be propanol. Propanol is the IUPAC name. Come here. Now this is your first carbon, this is your second carbon and this is your third carbon. So now we see that the OH group is attached to the second carbon, and this is called as isopropyl. Okay, so this is called as isopropyl alcohol. Commonly we call it as isopropyl alcohol. And in IUPAC it is propan. Alcohol is attached to the second carbon atom. So we call it as propan 2-ol. This is the IUPAC name. Okay. Come here. Now this carbon atom, we can see this is iso group again. This particular group is called as iso. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4 carbon atom. So we call it as isobutyl alcohol. Isobutyl alcohol. Okay. IUPAC name, this is first carbon, this is second carbon and this is third carbon. and in the second carbon we have got a methyl group. So we call it as 2-methyl. Word root is propanol. Propanol. Nol is attached, all is attached to the first carbon. So 2-methyl propanol. Come here. This is your first carbon, second carbon, third carbon and fourth carbon. OH is attached to the second carbon, and you can see this is a secondary alcohol. So it is called as secondary butyl alcohol. Commonly we call it as secondary butyl alcohol. It is a secondary carbon atom, you can see, and there are 4 carbon atoms, so secondary butyl alcohol. And in IUPAC we call it as butane 2-ol. There are 4 carbon atoms, so butane, the E will not be there, 2-ol. E we will not write, butane the last E we will not write because E and O cannot be adjacent to each other, okay. Come here, now this is 1, this is 2 and this is 3. So this is called as, it is a 1, 2, 3, 4, this is called as neo. This particular part is called as neo, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 carbon. So commonly we call it as neopentyl alcohol. Neopentyl alcohol, and the IUPAC will be 1, 2, 3. There are 2 methyl group in second carbon, so we call it as 2,2-dimethyl. And then the word root is propanol. 2,2-dimethyl propanol. Okay. Come here. Now this is called as tertiary butyl. This particular part is called as tertiary butyl alcohol. It is tertiary butyl alcohol. Now see the IUPAC. This is your first carbon, second carbon and third carbon. In the second carbon there is a CH2 group and there is a OH group. So we call it as 2-methyl, the word root, that is propan, and the ol is attached to the second carbon, so 2-ol, 2-methyl propan 2-ol. Come here, this is your first carbon and this is your second carbon. This is commonly called as ethylene glycol. Ethylene glycol is a common name, okay, and the IUPAC name is ethane. There are 2 carbon atoms, carbon-carbon single bond, so ethane, and then 1,2-diol. Okay, ethane 1,2-diol. Okay, now here you can see we will write the ethane full thing because after E we have D. So E and D can be adjacent to each other. So ethane, it will be completed fully. The last E will come and then 1,2-diol. The next IUPAC name 1, 2, 3. There are 3 carbon atoms. Commonly it is called as propylene glycol. Propylene glycol. And the IUPAC name will be 1, 2 and 3. So this is propane 1, 2, 3 triol. Sorry. We'll write it properly. Propane, full will write PROPANE, then 1, 2, 3 triol. This is IUPAC name. Okay. Come to the last one. This is a first carbon, second carbon, third carbon and fourth carbon. And this particular compound CH2, CH11, CH3H. This is called as crotonyl alcohol. Crotonyl alcohol. This you need to remember the common name, crotonyl alcohol, and the IUPAC will be 1, 2, 3, 4. So the parent molecule is but, and then the ene is in second carbon, so but 2-ene and 1-ol. So it is but 2-ene 1-ol. Okay, and in the E part will not be there because we have a O later on. So but 2-ene 1-ol. This is the IUPAC name of this. Okay. So here in today's video, this is the first video of alcohol, phenol and ether. Here we have completed the introduction part, the classification of alcohols and the nomenclature. Now in the second part, I am going to come with the preparation of alcohols. If you think these videos are beneficial to you, please subscribe the channel and press the like button. Thank you so much. Stay tuned.